After months of struggling, Elon Musk finally bought Twitter last day for $44 billion. He had bought quite a few shares and become the largest shareholder of different companies he had founded for several months. He then made an offer to buy the entire company. Twitter has tried the opposite before, even resorting to techniques called poison pills in the financial world. But it's true. Elon had come up with an offer that was very difficult to refuse.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
After all, Twitter is not a company like Facebook or YouTube in terms of profitability. Who else will give $44 billion in such an item? Elon Musk is one of the most active users of Twitter. He cares about the platform so much that he has a lot of ideas about it, a lot of suggestions. He expressed his opinion on almost everything, from the removal of the letter W from his name to the transformation of the Century Building in San Francisco into a shelter for the homeless. Finally, he left and bought the company as it was. By the way, we are talking about the privatization of publicity company. Well, now what? The first scenario will be good. The second scenario will be bad. The third scenario will not change anything. Before we try to answer this, let's try figure out how important or insignificant a platform Twitter is in the social media realm. As I just said, the number of active monthly users is not a Facebook approaching 3 billion or a YouTube exceeding 2 billion. Let alone these two giants in terms of the number of users, Instagram, TikTok, Telegram, QQ, Weibo, Qzone, which you have not even heard of, are lower than the 17th in line. It's a little lower than our estimates, isn't it? However, it seems to be much more important. Maybe, potentially, it really is. Of course, Elon Musk himself is the first to say that purchase will be good. We understand this from his last sentence in his official letter to board of directors, in which he forwarded his proposal on April 13. Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock him, he says. There is also a famous founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey. She is no longer actively part of Twitter, but still shared her thoughts on the topic with a song. He told Radiohead to bring everything in its right place. The share is of course assembling an encrypted tweet, because it is the song chosen from an album about being human in a world ruled by technology. As a company, Twitter has always been my only problem and my biggest regret, says Jack Dorsey, who founded it. He says that now that the company has become public, it belongs to Wall Street, and therefore to an investing model. He thinks getting her back from Wall Street is the right step. In short, he supports Elon Musk's privatization by buying it. Elon is the only solution I trust, he wrote. I trust to his task of broadening the light of consensus. What he means here by consensus is Twitter. He believes that he is closeting global consequences. This is a very interesting thought, and I was thinking about similar things long before April 25, 2022, when he announced it. If the Earth were a giant organism, the people living on it will probably also have its brain cells. How does our brain work? By disabling the conversation between the cells. Here we see that we express our ideas with messages on atomic scale, up to 218 characters, and as these statements interrogate. A gigantic brain begins to move. It's like the world's intelligence is proving, but I'm not sure if it is a good way. I think what Jack Dorsey means by global consequence is something similar to this. So, is Twitter the closest thing to it? I think that's up for debate. Perhaps with the steps that will be taken after purchase, it can really become so. Therefore, the A cheek that we said at first can happen. But it can also be B cheek. After all, Elon Musk is an Iron Man-like superhero for some, and the Green Goblin like supervillain for others. There are also justified reviews of those who say that can consequence of this purchase will be bad. They say that it is extremely harmful to leave all control of Twitter in the hands of one person, and not just one, but someone with various business interests around the world and even outer space. In 2020, for example, Twitter said it would start labeling some Chinese accounts as state-linking media. But Tesla, of which Elon Musk is the CEO, is very active and ambitious in the Chinese. Now, what will happen if the Chinese president called Elon and asked him to remove these labels? We will see more discussion on AI uses such as democracy, freedom of expressions, propaganda in the coming days. So, what will Elon Musk change concretely after this purchase? We can make some guesses from what he said himself. The edit button may refer to. He had tweeted this request in 2019. He also expressed this idea at the TED conference he attended in April 2022. The ability to edit it should come after you have posted a tweet. Even if only for a short time, we should be able to receive alt retweets and favorites, said. In addition, 73% of the nearly 4 million people who participate in a survey conducted by him voted in support of this feature. Meanwhile, announced that they have been working on such a feature for about 1 year. Longer tweets can be written. Twitter also appeared with a 114-character limit to comply with the message restriction on older phones. In 2017, they doubled this to 218 characters. However, according to Elon Musk, this is also not enough. He wrote that Twitter is too overdue for long-form tweets. The end of bots may come. Perhaps the most important problem of Twitter, and in fact many social media channels, is bots. That is non-human users. Let me add non-human users to this. After the purchase, Elon Musk announced that he would ensure that only real people could log into the system. Open source algorithm. One of the most interesting changes is the idea of making the Twitter algorithm open source. According to Elon Musk, there is a bias of Twitter's algorithm at the moment, and this problem can only be solved if the source code is made clear. I'm concerned that the facto bias contained in the Twitter algorithm will have a major impact on public discourse. He made a share last month, and then he asked the question, how do we know what's really going on? Content moderation. Change may come in the direction of Twitter being less strict about content moderation, because Elon Musk has said that he believes that Twitter should comply with the laws of the countries in which it operates, and otherwise not regulate the conservation of users. All of large technology companies try to be objective. They have a certain worldview. Therefore, the rules they bring to their platforms can be made accordance with this opinion. What did George Orwell say in the novel Animal Farm? All animals are equal, but some are more equal. He is also on social media. Everyone can speak freely, but some can speak more freely, can we say? When Elon Musk talks about free speech, he makes an analogy like this. It's allowed for someone you don't like to say something you don't like. If this is the case, then we have free speech. It's very annoying, but it is a signal of healthy function free speech station. According to him, if the topic is a gray area, the tweet should be allowed to exist. He thinks that it's necessary to be very reluctant to delete things, and also to be very careful with permanent bans. Instead of such a ban, timeouts are better, he says. This idea is especially important in the United States because Twitter had banned former President Trump's tweets on the grounds that they did not comply with the platform rules. Let's not try to make any connections between, but Elon Musk is the 34th richest person in the world during the same president's term. From his person, he became the richest person in the world. I don't know if there is any other person in the history who has increased his weekly so quickly. But according to dataset that analyzes all the tweets he's posted, he didn't use it often until 2018. In the spring of 2013, suddenly the number of monthly tweets exceeds 100. Coincidentally, Tesla shares are gaining 40% in the same week. As of 2018, the number of the tweets per month exceeded 300. Imagine you are the manager of two large companies and yet you use Twitter on average 10 times a day. It's precisely after 2018 that the value of their company and therefore their personal wealth increasing in direct proportion to these tweets they post. Twitter may not be that important to you as it's to me, but it's definitely important to Elon Musk. As a matter of fact, the media are a very important force for everyone who has power and wealth in the world. The previous richest, Jeff Bezos, also bought a newspaper many years ago. It might not seem like a very logical declaration from a commercial point of view to buy a newspaper or a social media platform such as Twitter. But it is important not to miss that they are very strategic decisions indirectly. I'm not going to further cross the conspiracy line and create the theories, and I am even going to quote Elon Musk's own words, based on principle of the declaration of persons is essential. This is not a way to make money, he says. My strong intuitive understanding is that having a maximum reliable and far-reaching inclusive public platform is extremely important for the future of civilization. I'm not interested in economics at all. For a person who says that he is doing all his projects with the intention that civilization will have a better future, this theory seems to be quickly consistent. You can believe or not. You are free to choose one of the A, B, or C styles related to the subject.